The hour of 6 p.m. having arrived, I will call to order this regular meeting of the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee. This meeting is being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel. The video is also posted on the city website by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. Copies of printed agendas are available in the wall pockets as you enter the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to address the committee is asked to go to one of the microphones in the room, identify themselves by name and address prior to speaking. I'll now call to order this meeting of the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee and declare a quorum present. Okay. So we don't have anybody dialed in. We do have a quorum. So the minute taker is participating remotely this evening. Committee members, please be sure to turn on your microphones when speaking. If the minute taker is unable to hear, she will ask that you speak louder or turn on your microphone. Having said that, we'll get to our agenda. The first item is a grant. LT or Chief, who's?
Good evening, Don Falco, Fire Chief, Jerry Lampan, Training Officer. Jeremy was the author of the first grant item on tonight's agenda. This is pretty straightforward. Back in April 7, the committee approved a grant for hazardous materials operational planning and also some technological equipment. Since that was awarded, the prices have gone up. So we requested from the state to increase the amount of the award to cover the inflationary costs. So the original grant was for $26,934. They have allowed another $10,817 for a total of $37,751.25. And the letter of that approval is page 3 of your agenda packet, and that price should cover the grant in full. So we're seeking your recommendation that this is passed on to City Council.
Thank you. Do we need to make a revision of the prior authorization, or is this, the way it's written now, going to take care of that?
Yeah, so just to be clear, so the other grant was approved and accepted, and all we're doing now is increasing the dollar amount?
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is fine.
All right. Any questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, need a motion.
Move to recommend that the City Council authorize the city manager to do all things necessary to apply for, accept, execute, and expend the amended grant agreement for the Hazardous Materials Preparedness HMEP grant application as presented in the amount of $37,751.25 for the purchase and installation of conferencing equipment and hazmat plan updates.
Second.
Has been moved and seconded. Further discussion by members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor? No one's opposed, unanimous. There you go. Thanks. And we have another grant. This one's from Assistance to Firefighters.
Yes, this is new and some great financial news for the department. So we were notified last week that we had a successful application to this year's AFG grant, Assistant to Firefighter grant. The grant was awarded for rope technician training, and it includes the full price of the classes and the overtime backfill. The grant award is in the amount of $219,589, and the city's 10% match will be $21,958.91, and the intent is to use those funds from our normal training budget line item. And just a brief note on the importance of this class. Most of you are probably aware that the City Keene Fire Department plays a very large role within the county itself for all levels of technical rescue. The state of New Hampshire has us designated as the county-wide swiftwater building collapse and trench rescue team. And by default, we provide a lot of support to our surrounding communities in the other technical rescue disciplines. The rope technician skill set is sort of the core skill set that helps all the other disciplines. So this is very helpful for the department, where we can have some new personnel trained and refresher training for our current members to really make sure that we are proficient in the high-angle rope environment. So we're looking for the committee's approval to pass this on to council.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so we would just ask that the motion to be amended to include the $219,589.09 grant award with a 10% city match.
Any questions? Questions? Go ahead.
Not as much a question, but this is something where I think about the fact you're describing us as being the county seat for this. When we talk about how we engage with our outside partners, the expense associated with this, I would love to see be something that's helped to be paid by the outside towns that are relying on us for this service. Not something tied to this, but just in our broader conversations. Thank you.
We agree wholeheartedly.
And one of the realities is being designated by the state as the agency over here, a lot of what goes on for hazmat and rescue type thing is reimbursable, so there'd be a lot of a partnership there, many times.
And that speaks to the earlier grant we just spoke about. Part of that is the hazard materials planning, which Councilor Madison is gracious enough to spend some time with us on that, using his expertise. And very early, as we take a really clean look at how our hazard material team is funded and responds, is there are some very good avenues for some better funding, and it also speaks to some limited but needed support from other communities financially. So that's one of the large issues that we're easily or softly pushing into as we go through that process.
Any other discussion by members of the committee?
I have a comment that I'd like to make on this, if you don't mind, especially with respect to the idea that we can be reimbursed for it, which is true. But one of the things that we've discovered over the years is that the statutory process for the reimbursement can be vague. And it would be helpful to think about when we go forward with our legislative work to look at some possible amendments to that to clean up who the responsible party is in those situations. Because sometimes it turns out that the responsible party, even though they aren't the holder of the hazardous materials, don't have any resources in which to recover from.
Thank you. All right.
I can just, leaning on my experience with the state, I can certainly verify the city attorney's comments. We frequently run into that situation where you may have a responsible party, but that responsible party may not be able to, lend financial resources. They may not have insurance, they may not have the financial resources, or it may be a business that's gone defunct or a person who has, perished in an accident. So I just want to echo the city attorney's comments. Like, I experience this routinely in my job.
Okay. Motion?
Move to recommend that the city council authorize the city manager to do all things necessary to accept and expend the FY 2021 Assistance to Firefighters Grant in the amount of $219,589.09 with a 10% city match.
And I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? No one opposed, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Third item, Community Development Director, Mr. Rounds.
Good evening. Here to request authorization to accept a housing opportunity planning grant for our housing needs analysis and planning study. We came before you a couple months ago, I think at this point, to request the ability to hire a consultant for this service. And at the time, I mentioned that we were attempting to seek a grant to pay for about 1/3 of the cost, and we received that grant. So hoping to finalize both the acceptance of the grant and the hiring of the consultant with this.
Thank you. Questions Members of the committee? And some comments from the city manager.
Just a question. This motion is to accept the grant, but doesn't award the contract. Are you looking for?
No, sorry, I misspoke. Yeah, we're just accepting the grant. The way that the state is asking us to proceed is we have to sort of a catch-22 where we have to tell the consultant that they're hired to get the money, and to get them and to hire the consultant, we have to have the money. So we're still working that part out.
Any further discussion? Motion, please.
Move to recommend that the city manager do all things necessary to accept and expend the Housing Opportunity Planning Grant for Housing Needs Analysis and Planning in the amount of $15,500 from Invest NH Municipal Planning and Zoning Grant Program as funded by the New Hampshire Department of Business and Economic Affairs for the purpose of hiring a consultant to complete a housing needs analysis for the city of Keene.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion by members of the committee? Further discussion? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last item on the agenda is a change to an ordinance for probationary firefighters.
Good evening, Beth Fox, Assistant City Manager, Human Resources Director. I'm here this evening with a amendment proposed to City Code that pertains purely to probationary firefighters. It has two focuses. The first is to align code to current practice for probationary operational firefighters who work 24-hour shift schedules. And the second component is to address a situation where we have just recently hired 2 probationary fire prevention officers from outside the organization, so they are now subject to city code, and to amend code in a fashion that then provides those employees who work a 5-day, traditional 5-day schedule, more traditional 5-day schedule, paid holidays off instead of a lump sum holiday pay. Other firefighters work regardless of holidays, so they get a lump sum pay, holiday pay. But these employees who are really more focused on serving the public and responding to business activity, you know, that model doesn't really work for them. They don't need to be at work on Christmas Day waiting for people to come in and get their fire permits or have their plans reviewed. They really have a more typical a schedule that's more like code enforcement or other similar employees. So this code amendment will provide, both clarify current practice for the employees that are assigned to work rotating shifts, 24-hour, and provide during the probationary period paid holidays for these newly hired employees. And the fire chief is also here, so if there's operational questions or department-focused questions, we can, I'm sure, help address them.
Any questions or comments from other members? So, as I read it, I had a couple of thoughts on how it read, and I suggested some little edits that we gathered just before the meeting and kind of agreed to language. And when Mike makes his motion, he's going to correct those items. It doesn't change the intent at all. It just makes the sentence shorter. I bet you like that, don't you?
I always appreciate the educational upbringing that you had.
Thank you. And for my information, do I need to make an amendment and pass the amendment, or can I make in the motion to amend it in a certain way instead of?
If it's not changing the substance at all, we can call it a Scrivener's error.
It doesn't change the substance, so we could submit them.
We'll just
separately.
call it a Scrivener's.
Okay. Okay. Then move to recommend the adoption of O 2022-13.
No, second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Nobody opposed? Nobody opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. This is here, so I'm going to use it. We're adjourned.
16 minutes. Oh, no, 15. That clock's a minute fast.